Hey juniors! All right, so the videos that I'm intending to kick out to you this week and next are basically going to be me virtually handing back your work. So I'm going to go over all the answers of the forums we've done, review everything that will be on the exam. The exam is something that I'm expecting everyone to take because it can only help you, not hurt you. And so if it lowers your grade, I just throw out the score altogether. So it's definitely something that all of you should attempt. And this is just a way for us to recap everything we've learned this semester as well, because it's kind of been a lot. So here we go. We're going to start with the peace and environment form. So let me just share my screen here and get that up. Now, one thing I want you guys to remember too is that I'm going to be giving like little extra credit nuggets in each of these videos. So that's what you will turn in. And otherwise, I just expect you, like we would in class, to take notes on the videos. I won't collect your notes, so that's for your own use, your own benefit. All right, let's take a look at this first question here. By recalling the commandment, you shall not kill, was the answer. And you're going to see, you know, if you capitalized it or didn't, it might have marked you wrong. But I went through each one individually, so you got it right if you put something along that line. I think I even gave these people who said murder, gave them the point as well. All right, so it's this commandment that our Lord asked for peace of heart, and he asks us to denounce murderous anger and hatred as immoral. The next one should have been anger is a desire for revenge. Some of you used some other words here, but if you had watched my video lecture, you would have seen that anger was the proper answer there. All right, and then if anger reaches the point of a deliberate desire to kill, again, or seriously wound a neighbor, it is gravely against charity. Charity, remember, is that theological virtue, meaning love. And so anytime we have these like murderous thoughts, it becomes a mortal sin directly against the virtue of charity or love. Hatred of the neighbor is a grave sin. That's kind of repetitive. So anytime we desire harm of our neighbors, it's sinful, seriously sinful. All right, next we kind of move into peace, the idea of what peace really is. So respect for and development of human life requires peace. So let's look at what this definition of peace is. Peace is not merely the absence of war, was the answer here. It is not limited to maintaining a balance of powers between adversaries. So sometimes people will say, well, we're not at war, so it's peacetime or something like that. Well, not quite. There's more to it than that. Just because you're not overtly battling one another doesn't mean that you're truly at peace. So if you keep going on these questions, it will give you a further definition of peace. Peace cannot be attained on earth without safeguarding the goods of persons. And so we need to safeguard the material goods of people and make sure that we're protecting personal property, all of those things, that there's free communication among men. So if there's not freedom of speech in a society, or someone is being quelled and not allowed to form their opinion, or people aren't being listened to, that could be a time where it's not peaceful. Respect for the dignity of persons and peoples. We've talked a lot about that this semester. If you're not respecting the dignity of each human being in their life, it's probably not a peaceful society, even if you're not overtly at war. And then the assiduous practice of fraternity. Fraternity means brotherhood, okay? Peace, another quick definition here, is the tranquility of order. Peace is the work of justice. And this word here, justice, is your code word for extra credit in this video. So if you send me, all you have to do is like send me a personal message over Remind and have the word justice. That's it, and I'll give you extra credit. If you want bonus extra credit, you use that word justice in a sentence that has to do with peace and the environment and what I'm talking about in this form. So you use that in a sentence and it makes sense, you get, you know, double bonus points. All right, moving on. The fifth commandment is the one that forbids the intentional destruction of human life, that says thou shalt not kill. Okay, some of you said the sixth. Possibly you looked it up online and found a Protestant list of commandments, which may have had it as the sixth. Remember, there's a separate list for the Catholic list of commandments, and it's definitely the fifth commandment for us. All citizens and governments are obliged to work for avoiding war. However, As long as the danger of war persists and there's no international authority with the necessary competence and power, governments cannot be denied the right of lawful self-defense. I think a couple of you maybe didn't read that close. Self-defense is something else. So just like we have the right to defend ourselves if our safety is being immediately threatened, nations have that right as well if they're not able to safely, peacefully, or effectively solve those problems in a peaceful manner. And we'll look at that next here. So next I talked about this idea of just war. And so you should have selected 4 of these were part of the just war doctrine. The first one, if you declare war, there must be a serious prospect of success, So you can't go into a war knowing you're probably going to lose it. That would not be considered a just war. The damage inflicted by the aggressor, so the person who is threatening your nation, or the community threatening your nation or community of nations, must be lasting, grave, and certain, meaning it's going to stretch out for a long time, whatever threat they're making against you. It's going to be very serious in its consequences, and it's definitely going to happen. It's not an empty threat or something like that. Okay, the next one, all other means of putting an end must have been tried and shown to be impractical or ineffective. So you've tried everything in a peaceful way without doing war, and nothing has worked and nothing will work except for that. Okay, and the fourth thing, the use of arms that you're going to use in the war must not produce evils and disorders graver than the evil that you're trying to eliminate. So this is a really simplified example, but let's say an aggressor says, I'm going to destroy your city if you don't do this, this, and this. And the people say, okay, well, we're going to destroy the entire country in this war. Well, that doesn't work, because if the arms are going to destroy the whole country when all you were trying to protect is the one city, that doesn't really work out. All right. This next one is about people that serve in the armed forces. Those who are sworn to serve their country in the armed forces are servants in the security of freedom. Some of you put freedmen, should have been freedom. And if they carry out their duty honorably, they truly contribute. So it's protecting the rights of those people. And, you know, if you are asked to fight and possibly kill people in a war, morally, you're kind of wondering where you are. But as long as it's a just war, you know, your conscience can be protected there. All right. Public authorities, though, need to make equitable provision for those who reasons of conscience was the answer there. Some people, they search their conscience, their hearts, their minds, and they just cannot justify taking up arms against their brothers and sisters. And that's fine, and the Catholic Church says they should be protected and they have a right to do that. But they also have obligations to their nation in other ways. So if your nation's at war and you refuse to take up arms and fight for your nation, you should be doing something like volunteering for the Red Cross or donating items to soldiers. You need to be doing something to contribute to support your country in that way. Non-combatants, so people that don't fight, wounded soldiers, and this one was prisoners, must be respected and treated humanely. So this is all part of Catholic teaching on if you do enter into a just war, these things all must be upheld. All right, and also blind obedience. So let's say you're a soldier in a war, but your superiors are telling you you must exterminate an entire group of people, an entire nation or ethnic minority or something like that. And this, you can't justify it. Just because you're serving people and they're your superiors, you're morally bound to resist orders that command things like genocide, you know, taking out an entire group of people. Injustice, excessive economic or social inequalities, envy, distrust, pride, all of these are considered disorders that need to be overcome in order to contribute to building up peace and avoiding war. All right, then we're shifting gears here to the environment. And God's creation is a good and gracious gift to humanity. We talked about in that video, the book of Genesis, the creation story, when God gifted this idea of creation to the care of mankind. True or false? God's bounty was gifted to only some of us. Trick question. That was supposed to be all of us. Okay, not some of us. This next one should have been the environment is the support system of human life. which provides food we eat and air we breathe. Some of you came up with some other things there. Obviously, if you spelled it differently, as long as you had something along environment, gave that one to you. Who is affected most by the damage of the environment? That is those who are in poverty, the poorest of the poor, the poor. There was a lot of answers here that were similar, but you couldn't have just put people. That was way too general. I was looking for the poorest of people. And of course, we know that because they're already at a disadvantage. So anytime the environment is in jeopardy, they're in even more jeopardy because they don't have the resources to always find clean water in the first place. And then if you're polluting the water, that puts them at a further risk. Okay, these last two, you were supposed to come up with a decision a young person can make to preserve and care for the environment. Many of you said recycle. Second code word for this video. Go ahead and text me the word recycle and I'll give you another point. Okay, and I think that's the example. Consuming less maybe also was in the video. This next one, I was looking for what can an adult do? Of course, they also can recycle, but I gave you only half credit if you put that. You need to just say, what else can they do? And I was looking for something like, if you run a business, you can do that in a more green or environmentally friendly way through your policies. Some of you put you could drive an electric car or use less emissions. All those things were good. All right, I think that brings us to the end of this form. And this is like the 10th time I've tried this video, so hopefully it worked. Have a good one.